This award, the Woman of Distinction Award, honors a woman who demonstrates leadership, integrity, and excellence in her personal and professional life. She will have a profound impact within her career path and throughout the community, and serve as a role model and inspiration for other women. She will reside in Montgomery County, PA. The Montgomery County Foundation is proud to announce that this year's recipient of the prestigious award is Ms. Tamala Edwards. Before I call her up to the podium, I would like to share the names of past recipients of the award. So please, excuse me, that two of them could be here. They did have to leave, and she did say to me that she had a back spasm and her mother needed to take her home. So the 2018 mother-daughter dynamic duo of Kathy McGee Burns and her daughter, the Honorable Judge Kelly C. Wall. 2017, the Honorable Cheryl Lynn Austin, Court of Common Pleas of Montgomery County. 2016, Dr. Kathleen Owens, past president, Gwynedd Mercy University. 2015, Dr. Valerie Arcouche, chair of Montgomery County Board of Commissioners. 2014, Alma R. Jacobs, former Secretary of Pennsylvania Department of Aging. Ms. Tamala Edwards' full bio is included in your program packet, and I encourage you to read it. You will see how she came to be honored with this award. For now, I will share a little bit about her, and then she will have a chance to offer some remarks. Tamala Edwards joined the 6 ABC January in 2005. She is a weekday co-anchor of Action News Mornings and is a regular co-host of Inside Story, conducting interviews as well as moderating many election debates. Prior to joining 6 ABC, she was an embedded reporter during the Iraq War, moving with the Air Force from Kuwait to Nazareth, Iraq. Ms. Edwards has written on a diverse number of topics, including dynamics surrounding love and marriage. She has also written about House and Senate races, the Reform Party, the fight over school funding in Vermont, and other highly charged political issues. She has covered the business boom of college preparation, the growing importance of women in philanthropy, the Supreme Court case of student-to-student sexual harassment, and the public debate over books on topics like modesty, race, and mental illness. She has also written dispatches from the presidential campaign trail. Tamala Edwards is often in the community, especially at schools, talking to young people about learning goals and inspiration. People know she loves to read, and she makes the time to engage authors and the public as a regular interviewer for the Free Library and its author series. It's more work, but she is committed to co-hosting Inside Story, and she always accepts invitations to moderate candidate debated because she feels that there is nothing more amazing than and worthy of our engagement than our democracy. And I have to say that we are very pleased and very lucky, especially in light of today's programming this morning and all of the changes that we have gone through and are addressing in our lives ourselves. Tamala Edwards, congratulations on being named the 2019 Woman of Distinction honoree. I invite you to come to the podium and offer your remarks.
I have to say I love it when I'm introduced, because in the middle of the night when I'm stripping beds and looking for the lost hockey glove and letting the dog out, I try to remind myself I did do some things in this life. You may have seen I came in almost on 2 wheels, and if you hear them joke about my driving in the morning, I kind of did come in on 2 wheels. But I am so glad to be here, and I'm going to stay after the luncheon, and I'm looking forward to meeting so many of you. So please, people sometimes say to me, I don't know if I should come up. Please come up. because I was so excited to get this award, and I'm looking forward to meeting those of you who are here in the room, because I'm thrilled and gratified that you thought I was deserving, and because this is what I do. I'm going to figure out this mic real quick. All right, can you hear me now? Yes. Okay, wonderful. I'm going to stand to this side. So my husband, who's the reason that I'm late, would also like to thank you. He's on the road, so who do you think had to go to the compounding pharmacy to get the medicine for the kid on the way over here? This lady. But he has had so much fun hearing about this award. So I've heard things like, as he walks around the house, that is such a distinctive spaghetti. How you fold laundry is so distinct. And is there any chance you might grab me a beer of distinction? Seriously, he tells me he is proud of me deep down inside. But I'm glad that I could be here with you for your discussion, and I took a look at some of the speakers who were here earlier this morning, and it really sort of informed what I decided to talk about and how far I chose to go, because I personally find it often feels like you go to these things and people tell you the things that you find on posters, the cat, just hang in there, that you can figure out on your own. And I think it's, particularly in certain rooms, important to pull back the veil and be a little bit more honest. Because in our current culture, it feels like we're so focused on being a brand, on curating the perfect social media moment, and keeping all the hard times and the scars to yourself. And that's not what I'm going to do today. I intend to talk to you about the times that I've been scared, not my own best friend, and the times that I failed, and some of them were pretty spectacular. Like the time on national news that a fly went into my mouth, and I spit it out. My dad called 2 seconds later, "Oh, honey." And I'm doing that because we learn a lot more, I think, from what went wrong in ways that you never do from what went right. You enjoy it when things go right, but you don't take it apart the way you do when things go wrong. I love talking to kids because they ask the best questions. Like they'll ask me all the time after they say, "What time do you get up?" And the answer is 1:45 a.m. It's okay, you get used to it. Don't you get scared. They instinctively understand you're doing what you're doing in front of the whole world. That's crazy. And I always say back, regardless of whether or not it's true, yeah, I get scared all the time and every day. Because what I want them to understand is that being brave isn't not being scared. It's being scared and doing it anyway. And I'm often reminded of the time when I was starting out, and I was up at the Bush compound in Maine, and I was about to go on, and I had just started, so I was having a heart attack. And I turned to the woman next to me from another network, who just came across as having so much confidence. And I said, "Don't you get scared?" And she said, "Yeah, all the time. But I just let it give me a little kick." In fact, it's when you're not scared that you ought to get worried. Now, most people that you see on TV really want to be here. In my case, I just think somebody accidentally left the door open. I was not the kid who stood there with a hairbrush talking into the mirror. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a foreign correspondent. I thought the TV people looked like ice cream cones. They wear all those colors. I wasn't much for makeup. I literally remember my mother walking around behind me, I was almost 30, with a tube of lipstick. "It won't kill you. You look like a man." When I went for my first TV job interview after appearing on TV to talk about politics, a very important TV executive said to me, "So what do you think about TV?" And I think he thought I was going to say, "Oh, I love it. I really love this opportunity." And I said, "Well, I had one." He did not find it funny, but I still do. But based on those limited credentials, I did get a job in TV. And I got a job as the White House correspondent, which is hilarious. The idea was that politics was boring, that they could take me from the world of print and teach me TV, little by little, in this little backwoods talking about Social Security and Medicare and things of the day, which was a great idea, except for this. 3 weeks before I was supposed to start, 2 planes flew into the Twin Towers. The White House was no longer the background. Nobody had time to tell me where was the bathroom, let alone teach me how to do TV. And there was a small issue. I was terrible at it. I didn't know how to do that TV voice, dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. I was not a figure of authority, I looked like I was reading things off a back wall, and I looked like what I was. I was scared. And to me, in retrospect, it was the equivalent of somebody saying, you did so great putting on that Band-Aid. Would you like to do brain surgery? And TV at that level is not forgiving. You're quickly a star, she's got it, or you're not. But I made 2 rules for myself. They were never going to see me cry, and I was never going to use it as an excuse to behave poorly. It was not a reason to be mean to anybody else or to feel sorry for myself. Do what you can with this. Now, luckily, I found some allies, and I started doing pieces for ABC Weekend, which was good, but TV is a muscle. You can't do it once or twice a week. You need to do it more and more often. And thankfully, an opportunity came to do that when I went on to anchor the overnight news. Now, true story, this is how I learned how to anchor. They sat me down the first night, and they ran 2 or 3 stories. And I practiced them, and then they turned on the switch to the nation. Thankfully, I didn't know what I know now. It's probably Speedy Gonzalez wouldn't have gotten out of that chair so fast. But the great thing about that show in the middle of the night is it gave me a place to breathe and to try and to grow, and I came to love it. But I couldn't quiet all the parts of me that were freaked out. The few times that I did get a GMA piece, it was like climbing Everest. All the things come back to you that you're scared about, even though I was doing it every night, in the middle of the night live. And so sort of no surprise that the girl who could be funny and capable in the middle of the night came across in those fused GMA pieces as petrified. Towards the end of my time there, I remember tracking a piece for GMA one morning. David Muir, he's a lovely man. He's as nice in person as he seems on TV, had been my co-anchor, and he said, when you have a piece, you call me. So I called him up. It was 4 a.m, and I'm in the tracking booth, and he's listening to me. Okay, do that again, do that again. And when it was over, the editor, who was an old salt, turned and he looked at me and he said, you're fine. You just don't know it. You're letting them make you crazy. And I remember thinking, he's right, but yes, I am crazy because this needs to be perfect. But thankfully, the girl on the overnight who was having fun and growing was what 6ABC saw. And they said, why don't you come here and be part of our team? And I was excited to do that, but I was also terrified. All I could think about was everything that I'd ever gotten wrong, all the things that made me afraid. And I also had this gulp. I would be talking and then I'd go, and my dad was just like, oh, I guess you get that from me. I'm sorry, which did me no good. It was to the point that there were times when I was on beta blockers. There was one day I fantasized about just going to the parking lot and never coming back. And they wondered, where did she go? And like most anchors, I had the things that scared me. And for me, it's when you have to do that thing when you're on air and there's no video. It's just you talking. And what I've learned about TV is if you let somebody else write for you, they write War and Peace. You need to rewrite it for you. I did not know that lesson at the start. So what do you think happened within 3 months of being at 6ABC? They found a lawyer connected to the corruption probe dead in a hotel downtown. There was no other anchor in the building. They pretty much grabbed me by my lapels, put me in the chair, and gave me this big block of copy. I think I literally had flop sweat. I stumbled and gulped and pretty much had a panic attack on air. It was awful. Like I could hear the control room just going, and all I can be thankful for is that there was no YouTube, no Twitter, no Facebook. If I don't tell you, it never happened. So, I had to pull myself back together from that, and I just focused on being even killed. Not too high, not too low, just getting through the broadcast, and that seemed to work. We were winning in the numbers, but then I got a new boss, and he was not impressed. He watched me stumble through a special report. He watched the show, and he was like, eh. And one day, they'd bring the consultants in. You go and see the consultants. In my case, they'd be like, well, you can turn it up a little bit. And I expected to go into the meeting, and he was going to say, well, you can turn it up a little bit. But this was not the usual meeting. The usual person that I saw just looked ashen because they had left it to him to deliver a tough message. And it pretty much was this. Either this gets better or that's it. Which, you just imagine you're doing your regular morning and then you get that message and you've got a baby at home. I was stunned, and so I did what I always do in a situation like that. I called my sister, who's a CFO. I do English, she does math. The ratings are fine. I'm doing what they said they wanted me to do. What do they want? And she said to me, I love you. And if this is the direction you want to go, I'm going to support you. You're absolutely right. But as a manager, let me tell you something that you need to hear. This is human resources housekeeping. They have decided that they're going to cross the T's and dot the I's, and you need to make a decision. Because what you say in this moment, if you say anything other than yes, anything other than a yes is a no. And a no means you're fired. That advice was worth every moment I spent teaching her to tie her shoes and not wear every color of the rainbow to school. Because a couple of things happened. I recruited 2 producers on my team to my cause. We're going to meet every day. If I'm not doing what I need to do, you text me, you call me in the middle of the show and say, turn it up. Let's figure out how we can fix this. I literally got surgery to fix the gulp, which was part of acid reflux. I started working with an opera singer to make my voice stronger. And I started working with an actress to figure out, how do I talk to you back there so that it feels as though I'm really coming through. But that wasn't the most important thing that I did. I knew everybody working around me was aware of what I was good at and what I was bad at. And they were working around my deficits. What that really meant is that they were taking things off my plate, which meant they weren't giving me opportunities. And I could sit there and be embarrassed or hurt. I could find a way to hide in those limitations and say, well, I'm doing okay. But you know what? That was the person I was bringing to the rest of my life too. That's the person who went home to my marriage and to my parenting and into other aspects of who I was. And for reasons I will never truly understand, one day I was sitting at my desk and everything went quiet in the middle of the loud newsroom. And this little voice spoke very simply and it said, you need to decide who you are. Because if you don't decide, they're going to decide. And if you let them decide who you are, it's over. So you need to make a choice. And I don't know why, but in that moment, something just said, make up your mind. That day, I decided, you know what? I don't need to be perfect. If I may do it wrong, I can do it again. If I don't know it, I can learn it. Why not? Say, you know what? I know that sucked, but you know what? Let's do it this way. Can I rewrite it? Can you please give it to me again? The greatest way to get over something you're scared of is to ask to do it immediately. And so I decided to start doing that. And if I don't know something, find somebody who can teach you. A friend of mine likes to say, it doesn't matter if you fell in the pool, jumped in the pool, got pushed in the pool. You're in the pool, swim. And so that's what I decided I needed to do. And on a side note, they often say God helps those who help themselves. I believe this because key to what happened to me was a producer who was ornery and opinionated, the poster boy for Jesuit education. He refused to listen to the criticisms that others had about me. And instead, he was not going to work around me. He gave me equal shots. He was clear with me in his critiques and what he wanted. If I said, I screwed that up, I want to do it again, he gave me a look and then he gave it to me. And if anybody asked him to do differently, he stood up for me. Because he said to me once, I've got 2 anchors. Not one, I've got 2 anchors. And I intend to use every weapon at my disposal. I am certain that if I had not been ready within myself, he would not have appeared. Or I would not have appeared to him. Me making up my mind to show up in a different way allowed him to show up in the way that I needed him to for me. And more recently, I learned part 2 of this. Last year, we started to get some disturbing signs. Our numbers were dropping. We were losing some key demographics. It got to the point where it was getting a little scary, and I started to wonder, was this going to be it for TV? I was going to have to find the next chapter. True story that stays in here. They did polling, and they asked people, well, what sort of breakfast food are they? People said toast with no butter. Ooh. So we quickly had to figure out, well, what are we doing? After years of being told, just play it straight, just the news, 2 sentences and keep moving, we realized people don't just want that. They want all of you to show up. They want more than that to show up. But nobody could tell us what to do. It was just like, well, we hope you guys figure it out, because if you don't. And that little voice spoke up again, and something in my soul just kind of shifted. And I stopped thinking about making them happy. And if you work for 6ABC, please don't go back and tell them that. People sometimes will ask me, well, what is the trick? I literally stopped thinking about them, and I decided, you know what, if we're going down, we're going into the paint. I'm going to bring it every day, and I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, because doing it the way that you wanted me to do it clearly is not working. So let's have some fun, and let's do the best that we can do. We just got new ratings in, We won every part of the morning. And I'm really proud of that, not just for myself, but for the people behind the camera that you'll never see, the people in the editing booths, the photographers out there, the reporters, the producers, my colleagues, because to be left out there to figure it out, kid, and we did, is pretty incredible. And it was about a group of people working together and deciding to just do the best they could do. So what can you take away from this? Listen to yourself. Take the next shot. Find somebody who tells you the truth. My sister is for hire. Get an advocate and an ally. Keep trying. But as you might imagine, most of all, make up your mind. When I had my first child, it was a tough delivery. In fact, it was like being hit by a bus. I had preeclampsia. They put me on Pitocin, which is pretty much just banging on a door till it opens. And I think of my husband who, like today, there's some days I want to kill him. But then I think about him standing there with me in the hospital, and I was so tired I couldn't even raise my arms to wash my own hair. And he got in the shower with me and washed my hair. And he said something to me as I was too tired to move my body, and he said, just think about your head. Wherever it goes, the rest of you will follow. And he's right. If you remember nothing else from me today, make up your mind, and the rest of you will follow. Be who you say you are. Thank you again.
How fortunate that she was able to read the minds of the speakers that we had this morning. Very, very, very nice. So we have here a number of awards. I'm not going to read them as how they are anyway. They're beautiful, but reading them over and over and over again does no one any good. So we have awards from Senator Pat Toomey, from Senator Bob Casey, from Representative Steve McCarter, and from the Montgomery County Commissioners. Wow. And they are actually truly beautiful, and so we present these to you with great thanks for being willing to accept this award. We also have we are actually, as we give awards, a grant to agencies that are the favorites of the awardee. And so Philadelphia Young Playwrights taps on the potential of youth and inspires learning through playwriting, focuses on improving students' writing-based literacy skills, and we now know why that would be important, enhancing students' sense of agency, responsibility, and self-esteem, and cultivating joy and focusing on the whole child. So one of the checks will go to that group. I don't believe there's a representative here from that group. But then the second one goes to Maternity Care Coalition. And I'm going to ask Marianne and Kathy, if Kathy Dwyer would also come up to do the presentation, or do the receiving. Where's Kathy? Where is Kathy? There you are.
Lots of people give.
Julie and I met you 2 years ago at the brunch, and when they wanted somebody, they said we got to.
They're telling secrets, sharing strategies, let's say. So I just want to say thank you very much for actually coming and being able to give us and kind of link in with our programming. So we also have these for you, obviously, and you're going to give the check to Okay.
And if anybody out here is looking for a couple of great causes to participate in, Maternity Cares and Philadelphia Playwright, Giving Tuesday is over, but you can still give.
Thank you.
And her sister really is behind.
Okay.